Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Greater Las Vegas's Wednesday evening experience. I'm Reverend Laura, and it's my pleasure to be with you again this evening as we explore our theme for the month of wholeness. So for the month of August, we've been looking at this idea of wholeness, this way of feeling complete in the world. And when I first started talking about this, I said, it's one of those that's most often misunderstood and gives us a sense of feeling incomplete when we don't think that we are living a whole and perfect life. But, the thing is, we actually have this kind of dichotomy that's going on within us. We talk about oneness, that we're all one. But in actuality, we have this inner life going on, and we have our outer life, our outer expression. And our inner life is controlled oftentimes by our ego mind, this mind that is constantly chattering, this mind that likes to keep everything safe and doesn't like to challenge things or feel insecure in any way. It does everything possible to avoid fear and anxiety and all of those things. But this can give us a false sense of who we are, these feelings and emotions that come up when that ego mind has taken control of us. There are lots of practices that we can do to begin to get out of our head, to actually begin to understand that what that chattering mind that's going on is not really who we are. There have been lots of different names for this phenomenon. I love the work of Michael Singer, and he talks about we have this witness who's actually this part of us that actually hears that chatter that's going on inside of us and can say, wait a second, this is not exactly true here. This chattering mind is going on and on and on, and it's catastrophizing everything in life. And there's this part of us that actually stops and can see that. Things like mindfulness, those are practices, meditation, mindfulness, contemplation, are practices that can begin to build our witness within us to where we begin to actually see that we've got this part of us that is trying to keep us playing safe here. And there's a part of us that actually wants us to be free and expansive and feel that sense of wholeness. There's this practice of mindfulness can create an inner freedom from all of those overwhelming thoughts and emotions that ego mind is really good at bringing forth for us. Usually, we begin to become more conscious of the pattern of thoughts that go on in our heads then, and we can begin to recognize them for a while. I know when I first started my spiritual journey, I talked to myself a lot, especially in the car, and I would be talking out situations, like if I had an encounter with someone and it didn't go quite the way I wanted it to, I was rehashing it in my mind, and I was talking out loud while I was doing it. My mother used to laugh at me like crazy for it, but I would just be talking this out, and it's like, I should have said this and this is this, and it was like this story became this big thing inside of my head as I'm talking it out. Or if I was going to do something and maybe I was a little nervous about doing it, I would rehearse what I was going to say, rehearse the situation. And none of this was really conscious. It wasn't like I sat down and thought, ooh, I'm nervous about this. I'm gonna plan it out here and see if I can, make sure I can control the situation. None of that was going on consciously. It was just this ego mind just running rampant within my thoughts. And when I began practicing meditation, I began to be more conscious of that and would learn techniques to help me stop that chattering mind from going. One of the things that I would do, like I said, I was often in my car doing this, I would catch myself after this spin had started going in my mind. I would catch myself and I would just say out loud to myself, Laura, you don't do that anymore. And that would stop me. Now, I might have to do it again in 10 minutes, but it would stop me. It would break that pattern until eventually, I can't even tell you the last time it happened with me, where I had that spin going on about situations that happened, because I had become mindful of what was going on, and my developed my witness to observe it more so that I could actually stop that behavior. That's one of the things that mindfulness is really good for, is actually making us conscious of our habitual patterns and then giving us the tools to help stop that, to help break that. Because this inner life that we have, this inner chatter that's going on right now, can seem so real that that's the only way of being. But when we begin to practice these meditation, mindfulness, contemplation, visioning, things like this that will begin to help us see the reality and disconnect from that chattering ego mind, then we begin to have a different experience in our world. And there are lots of different ways that we can do this. I used to wear a bracelet too, a mala bracelet with the beads on it. And so when I found my mind was going like crazy, I would take the bracelet off and I would say a little affirmation to myself. Whatever happened to be I was working on at the time, I would just do a little affirmation. I moved the beads, counting the beads, I think there was like 25 beads on there. Just that would give me a chance to just repeat that over and over again to break the cycle of that rampaging inner dialogue that was going on all the time. Another thing that I began to do was, as I said, I would catch myself doing this, and I would stop and I would say, okay, what spiritual truth do I know right now? What truth do I know right now? I'm caught in this situation. It's wrapped up in my head and it's spinning around like crazy. So let me stop it and speak some spiritual truth. And sometimes it was, whatever, be still and know. Sometimes it was God is all there is. It just depended on whatever the situation was, but it wasn't anything that was rehearsed. It was like what spiritual truth came to my mind right then. And that would stop that spin cycle. Again, getting me out of my inner world and actually making me function a little bit better in the outer world, as far as not letting this inner dialogue overwhelm me and become something that seems to be more real than what the reality of the situation is. The reality of what's happening provides a stimulus, and I provide the reaction. I am the one that reacts to the reality of the world. And so anything that I've done here, any kind of situation I'm in, my reaction to it is something that I can determine. I can control that. And I can actually begin to build a greater sense of grace in the ideas of what I'm doing, what I'm bringing into my life here. So, for instance, if I'm overwhelmed right now, and one of my habitual habits is to find something I want to eat, the moment I observe that, I can stop that, and I can be kind with myself. I don't have to go back into the self-deprecating behavior of getting down on myself for engaging in a unconscious habit again. But I can actually be a little graceful and have a little compassionate for myself, and actually begin to release that. The more I become conscious of how I'm reacting to the situations that I'm faced with, the more I create a different experience in my outer world. So we have this, like I said, we have this inner world that's going on all the time, and then our outer world is a reaction to it. At any moment, we can stop that mental chatter, that internal dialogue that's going on constantly, and begin to really look at what is going on in our lives. We don't have to identify ourselves with the habits, the behaviors, the things that we've done in our lives. We don't have to, that's not our story. That's just a reaction to a situation. But some of these things seem so terrible, that we've done horrible things, that it's hard for us to actually begin to give ourselves a break, cut a little break here and be a little more compassionate with ourselves. But as we catch ourselves and make better decisions, we become less identified with those habits and those desires. The intensity of that mental rumination and storytelling that we do decreases as we become aware of it and allow it to dissipate. But as long as we are focused on judging ourselves and being harsh on ourselves, then that just perpetuates the problem. So again, compassion here, mindful compassion is one of the most wonderful gifts that we can give ourselves, to allow us to be gentle with ourselves. Mindfulness doesn't judge. Mindfulness doesn't sit back and evaluate whether something was good or bad. It allows us to discover that these are behaviors that we've had and that we can let them go at any moment. Holding on to the judgment that we have over the behaviors that we've engaged in the past is just another way of keeping us stuck. It's another way to keep our ego mind in control. But when we become less identified with them and less attached to a harsh judgment of ourselves because of them, then there's a place for us to soften and grow and to become more of who we want to be in this outer world that we are exhibiting. This is one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves is this idea of mindful self-compassion, where we begin to be conscious of what's happening in our inner life and use that consciousness, that awareness, to affect change in our outer life. This is what spiritual work is all about. When we begin to actually use these ideas in a way that affects a change in our lives, then we're actually growing spiritually. Nothing about spiritual work is about making it easy or making all the problems go away. In fact, when we focus too much on making the problems go away, we often engage in what we call spiritual bypass, where it's this Pollyanna-ish idea of, well, it's all good, everything's wonderful, and internally, we feel like, oh, my world is falling apart. And yet on the outside, I'm saying, oh, it's all good, it's all great, everything's perfect, and there's not one thing inside of me that feels that way. But when we actually begin to engage in conscious practices of mindfulness, compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, we begin to have a different experience where those things actually begin to feel, where when we say it's all good, it really does feel all good. People often come up to you and ask you how you're doing. And my response is, I'm absolutely wonderful. And I tell you, probably 19 out of 20 times, I am absolutely wonderful. I have nothing going on with me that makes me want to sit and complain about it or ruminate on it or anything else, because life is going beautifully. And again, this is done from spiritual practice of, looking at what is happening internally and seeing how I can soften, how I can provide a little grace for myself, how I can be a little more compassionate to myself, how I can forgive my repeated patterns of behavior. Instead of holding myself in contempt, I actually find grace in my life. And that has been proven to be one of the best ways of experiencing wholeness that I've ever found. So as you're going through the week here, and these things come up in your mind, give yourself a chance to just let it go. Let that be something that is not part of your experience right now. Find a phrase that helps you, like, I don't do that anymore. Or find a spiritual truth that can anchor you in wholeness in that particular moment. Find a practice. If you are looking for practices, our YouTube channel is filled with wonderful spiritual practices, tons of meditations on all kinds of topics that will let you have a greater sense of completeness, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Even if it's just for 15 minutes. Allow yourself to experience it. And the more you experience it, the more you'll say to yourself, I want more of that. And then you'll begin to just do the things that you're called to do in the moment. Sometimes it's not even anyone else around you. Sometimes you're just called to take a walk and enjoy the beauty around you. Sometimes it's just sit in the quiet and allow yourself to just be. Listen to wonderful songs. Read a book. Talk to a friend. Anything that can get you out of that inner chatter that is constantly going on and allow you to experience something different in your outer world. This is powerful work that we're doing here, and this will actually begin to shift your life. I hope you have a fabulous week. I hope you find something here that was useful for you. And if you're looking for more practices around wholeness, on Thursday mornings, I'm doing what's called echosemantics, which is integrating our environment with our senses in our body. And it's about bringing ourselves in a physical way to a sense of wholeness. So 9 o'clock Thursday mornings it's broadcast, but of course you can watch it anytime on our YouTube channel after that. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you back here next week on for our Wednesday evening experience. Bye-bye.
Here at Center for Spiritual Living Greater Las Vegas, we are a mission and vision-driven community. We offer transformative educational opportunities, deep and meaningful moments of connection, uplifting Wednesday and Sunday services. We greatly appreciate your contributions that support the amazing work we're doing here in Southern Nevada. We have several easy ways you can contribute. We have text to give. Simply text the amount of your donation to our text to give number and you'll be prompted to enter your information. There's a link to our online donation page posted below this video where you can contribute by debit or credit card. And of course, you're always welcome to send a check to our office if that works better for you. All of your contributions go to support the great work that we're doing here in Greater Las Vegas community.
The monthly publication, Science of Mind magazine, is a treasure to be read and contemplated. Along with in-depth articles, there is a day-to-day spiritual support to be gleaned from its daily guides. Licensed practitioner Lynn Frankenberger hosts Adventures in Faith on Zoom, and you're invited to join in. This is a weekly group discussion that focuses on those daily guides and how to apply them. Check Facebook and our weekly newsletter for more details.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real with Reverend Laura. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real with Reverend Laura.
CSL Greater Las Vegas brings you much of your favorite spiritual music every Friday at 7 p.m. with spiritual soundscapes. Enjoy performances from CSLGLV vocalists along with special guest singers. It's music for your soul. Subscribe to the CSLGLV YouTube channel to get a convenient link sent to you for each musical performance. At CSL Greater Las Vegas, it is our mission to inspire spiritual discovery through community connection, exploration, and celebration. This mission supports the all-inclusive vision of Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide, in which we envision a world that works for everyone and all of creation.